Okay, welcome back to another episode of Jump Scare. I'm Shad Youngblood.
And I'm bed to be deadly.
Ooh, and we have a special guest with us today. Please welcome Scary Carrie.
Hello.
All right, today we're going to talk about a couple each of our favorite vampire movies. So, who wants to start us off?
I'll start off.
All right.
If you didn't know before we told you we were going to be talking about our favorite vampire movies with my introduction of the classic vampire language or speak or what is it?
Was that more like the Count from Sesame Street though, or was it actual vampire?
I didn't say bad to be deadly, did I?
It's
Sort
close.
of.
It's close.
My favorite vampire movie. Let's see. There's so many. It was so hard because this is one of my favorite genre creatures, I would say, within film. So I own a lot of vampire movies. But I'm going to say hands down, my all-time favorite vampire movie is Twilight. There's just something about those glittery bastards I just fucking love so much.
Real men glitter.
Apparently.
And sparkle.
I hate to be that person, but it's Fright Night. I've seen that movie so many times. I can't even count how many times I've seen it. Probably just as much as I've seen Halloween.
Well, that's up there then.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy about it? Every time I see it, I find new things about it.
Yeah, well, that's what you do with most movies.
Yeah.
What is it that drew you to Fright Night?
It's Chris Sarandon, that sexy fucker. You know what I like about him? He's not the stereotypical vampire. One, he has... because he's not like this super rich in a mansion guy, or he doesn't own, he's not crossing the sea like fucking Bram Stoker's Dracula, in a fucking boat. He's not all fancied up with jewels. He's like a regular dude that lives next door to a freaking kid in high school in a regular house. It's the most expensive house in the neighborhood, sure. But, I mean, if you look at it, I wouldn't want to live there.
It looks
like a shithole. And then, yes, he has his kind of his man boy with him, who we never find out, is he a ghoul? Is he, what is he?
What is he?
Minion.
Yeah. He's a minion of some kind, but we don't exactly find exactly what he is, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to say he's a ghoul. And he's not attractive in the classical sense. There's just something about him. It's his voice, the way he carries himself, that I find to be extremely sexy. And the fucker can dance. He dances, I don't care.
Dances amazingly.
Yeah, it was choreographed, but I'm going to oversee that. I'm going to say he just came with all his own moves. And he got the moves, so I'm all about him.
All right. Scary Carrie, what's one of yours? Well, I think I know what it is. But...
Well, first and foremost, it's the only vampire movie, 1987, year I was born, The Lost Boys.
And what was it about The Lost Boys?
Directed by Joel Schumacher.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, know all kinds of trivia.
All right, what was it that got you interested in Lost Boys?
I honestly can't say because I've been watching it, I feel like since I was maybe 3. Possibly earlier. I've got 3 older siblings that were born in the early 80s, and I was born in 87, so naturally we had a couple VHS tapes, and that was one of them. And I know I've seen in the hundreds, I'd say, of times. It's definitely something I just put on the background at this point. I don't even really feel like I can watch it anymore because I've seen it so many times that I'll just put it on in the background if I'm cleaning. I own the vinyl record of the soundtrack. I own
we don't have to get
2 VHS copies.
We don't have to go there because then I could be forever and a day saying the same thing about Fright Night. I also own.
You have a few VHSs and some soundtracks for that too.
Yes.
Yes. No. We definitely when Carrie and I love something, we really love something.
Yes.
We
to
want
an extreme.
everything.
Yes.
And I remember going to that show at the Indian of the Lost Boys, and you could quote that word for word.
I can quote it word for word, beginning to end.
Come on, Carrie. Let's test it. What is the first lines in the movie?
Let's see, the first lines of the
You
movie.
have to whip out the script. Let's whip it out. Go ahead.
I told you to stay off the boardwalk.
Yep, there you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Killed it.
Now,
And
do you know how many times they say Michael in it?
oh man, I want to say like in the 80s.
It was pretty high. That video
Yeah.
that they've made where it's the supercut of all the people saying Michael.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Michael.
It could be a Halloween movie with how many times you say Michael.
I think
Yeah.
it's even more. Come with us, Michael.
Oh my gosh.
They're only noodles, Michael.
So you don't have like a pinpoint thing like it's
I would
Keith
say-
Sutherland
I
or...
would say growing up, it was definitely Kiefer Sutherland. Even as like a child, weirdly, I found him very
alluring. We're gonna see alluring.
attractive. I think just they were cool. The way they dressed, the way they talked, that they were into rock and roll. I think it kind of set a precedent at that time for vampires. And
Well, it had the coolest poster where it was like, sleep all day, party all night. You
Yeah.
know, you never grow old, never die. It's cool to be a vampire.
yeah,
That was
but
a great poster.
outside of the vampires, the Frog Brothers, just amazing characters. You want to be them and hang out with them and, go chase ghouls and werewolves out of high profile.
It was sad they never did any sequels to that until it was
Way too late.
Way too late.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They should have done one like 88, 89 would have been a perfect time when everybody was still active and, around to do it would have been great.
Yeah. I love the movie too, but now I can't watch it. I don't want to say why. It's just too sad for the podcast, but
Oh, yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
messed up.
that is
Yeah.
kind of sad of them, but of course no one knew anything about this at the time, so.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, well, one of mine is got to be hands down Salem's Lot. Because that was the first one that I remember seeing where the vampire wasn't a normal looking guy. He wasn't a guy that could blend in with society. The vampire in that's, got that long, snaggled teeth. He's bald. He's kind of got a blue cast to him.
He's very kind of like Nosferatu looking.
Yeah, he could not fit in society. That's why he has the guy that goes to town ahead of him, sets everything up.
His man bitch.
Yeah, that's a common theme with the vampires. They all have a man bitch that goes around and does everything for them.
They do always have to have a man bitch.
And
That's very true.
and of course one of the creepiest scenes ever is where the little boy vampire is floating outside the window, scratching on the window of the other kid, saying, "Let me in. Just let me in. It'll be fine."
Fuck no.
No one that's floating outside your window at night in the creepy fog scratching and saying, "Let me in." Don't.
I feel like later on, Buffy, the
I was
Vampire
gonna
Slayer,
say
replicate.
the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later, though.
There's a great one of The Simpsons too, where Milhouse is scratching on the window outside there, and he goes, "It's cool. You get a free small soda at the movies if they say you're a vampire." So yeah, that's always been one of mine. And just seeing the whole town it was kind of like you were seeing the beginnings of like the zombie plague or something. You start to see everybody in town slowly disappear because there's less and less people in town each night until you even see the sheriff packing up and going, "You know what? It's time to get the fuck out of town. I'm just going to go." I'm the sheriff, but I'm leaving. So yeah, that was always one of mine.
Do you have did you read the novel before you had seen the movie, or did you do it after?
No, I read the novel after. I saw the movie when I was very young, like when it was a miniseries on TV in like 78, 79. Toby Hooper did a miniseries of it, which they finally just put out on Blu-ray. Before, all you could get was like the shortened movie version of it, but now they have the full like 3.5 hour version of it out on Blu-ray, which you see a lot more of. There's a lot more characters. You see a lot more of how the town kind of falls apart.
Do you prefer the novel?
Really, the novel and the Toby Hooper one are pretty close. They're not that much different. Mm-hmm. There's a few like minor like gory details that are different in the book, but for the most part they're the same. And then they remade it in like 2001, 2002. They remade it with Rob Lowe as a miniseries also. Yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't as creepy as the original one. And there's actually if you get like the deluxe Salem's Lot novel, it comes with like a little prequel story that takes place hundreds of years before in Jerusalem's Lot, which is really cool. It's all told from the perspective of a guy writing letters to his friend out of state, and how everything kind of is going to hell in his little house that he lives in near Jerusalem's Lot. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of that one.
Interesting. Yeah, too bad there aren't novels of Fright Night or Lost Boys like beforehand. Like they weren't based on novels, because then we would have like more to sink our teeth in. Pun
intended.
Pun intended.
Supposedly Tom Holland is writing novel sequels to Fright Night. They're supposed to come out this year or next, like a new series of them, because he got the rights back.
Interesting. I would probably read those. Maybe.
Yeah, that'll probably be pretty good, because with him getting back in it and doing it, it should be interesting to see. Maybe they'll get enough interest that they'll pick it up on Netflix or something.
That'd be cool, but it's like, I don't care about any of those people. I want William Ragsdale and I want Chris Sarandon. Can we just go back in time?
And I think it works that way, but you can give it a shot.
No time machine?
No time machine.
No?
Okay, what's another one of yours?
I don't know. I know Carrie already has one at the ready, so I'm going to let her go.
Oh, well, let's just segue into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
Oh, okay.
The story was written by
Joss Whedon,
who went on to do the television show.
Yep, and many other things.
Yes, and although the movie was not his vision...
Yeah, it didn't come out like he intended.
It holds just a special place in my heart. When, growing up in the early 90s, you go to the video store every couple weeks, and that was definitely one of the maybe 4 or 5 movies I'd ask to get every single time. And as another one that I fortunately or unfortunately can quote the entire movie. But I like the aspect that it was comical in a way without being hokey or campy.
It was very different when it came out.
Yeah.
There hadn't been a lot, because the vampire movies had been like Lost Boys and other things. There hadn't been... I'm not sure there had been another vampire movie for a while.
Yeah.
So it was Lost Boys, and then...
When did Vampires Kiss? Another gem. When did that come out?
That was 90 or 91, I think.
It was like 92. That was right before Buffy, I believe.
Yeah.
So...
Which is a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. But there hadn't been a lot of really good, like, popular vampire movies for a while. So that when that one came along, that's why it kind of took everybody by storm.
So, Luke Perry.
Oh, yeah. That was at the height of Luke Perry popularity.
David Arquette was amazing in that movie. I think he brings a lot of comedic relief, especially when he's outside floating, saying, "Let me in." And Luke Perry just, "You want something?"
Yeah, he's just asleep.
Yeah, he's just asleep and just, "Come on, man, you're floating. Get out of here."
And you know what's funny is that, Rutger Hauer played the vampire in that, and then he went on to play in the remake of Salem's Lot. He was the assistant to the vampire.
Also, Hilary Swank's first movie.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, Seth Green, who went on to play Oz in the TV show, was actually in the movie in a scene that was cut out. So, no fun fact.
He kind of had a history of going around to projects with that, and then showing up and stuff with Allison Hannigan too. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun. Definitely, even a Halloween costume I'd still love to do. Although I'm not blonde, so that'd be kind of hard.
It's a wig. You just put a wig on.
Wig,
you need a wig,
yeah,
a black leather
also,
jacket, and a white dress. If then you're gonna go with the prom look.
Yeah, the guy that played Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubens. He was funny when he gets stabbed. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's very 90s nostalgic and just makes you feel good.
I don't know. Carrie, you like some terrible movies. It's a pretty terrible movie, I have to say. I love the movie.
Of course, love the movie.
Love the movie. But it's pretty terrible.
I don't think it's terrible. And
then you got freaking
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland walking around with this fucking trench coat, like.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, it worked out pretty good for my son being in that vampire movie. Maybe I'll try one."
Yeah. So, I mean, can you go wrong with Donald Sutherland?
No, Sutherland family usually delivers.
And that voice, I mean...
Donald Sutherland is the weird guy who got more attractive as he got older. Like young Donald Sutherland looks kind of like a scarecrow, where he's just like waving his arms around, and
it kind of looks.
And his head is like bigger than his whole body because of his fro.
Like a '70s porn star almost.
Yeah, he's got the crazy like super curly fro going and the big like porn stash. And as he got older and just that like, you know what? Let me just get a haircut and
go gray
and trim this beard out a little bit. He got much better looking as he got older.
Yeah. Oh, Donald.
All right. Well, while you're thinking of yours, I will tell you another one of mine.
I had mine.
Is okay. Do you want to go?
Just skip right over me. Why don't you?
I did.
Gosh, it's all the rest of the vampire movies. It's all of them. That's my answer.
Oh, okay.
Let the right one in.
Ooh.
The original,
yeah,
not the remake, which I refuse to watch. So I cannot comment too badly on it. But I didn't want to watch it. And with the actual original language with it, with the subtitles, because
Swedish, correct?
You watch, if you watch that film with the dubbing, it's a completely different movie. The tone changes, and you rarely see that in a movie. It's so crazy. When I saw the movie, I own it, and I saw it how I normally had seen it the first time. With the subtitles, and then when I watched it with the dub, I was like, this is a terrible movie. Like it's like when they first showed Halloween and they were like, okay, there's nothing scary about this movie, and then they added the music and they were like,
Yeah, I don't think the dubbing, like, it always just comes across like the Godzilla movies when I watch it, where they're like the whoever it is, their mouth works for 3 minutes and they go, oh no.
Yeah, well,
I don't think that's what he said.
It wasn't that it was like out of sync. It was just the translation of the Swedish words to English completely changed, like what they were talking about. So it was completely thrown off. But there's the concept of the novel and then the adaptation of it. It was just so unique to me. Like, you never really see like the children living. You see her as a child living on, her own, like how she's dealing with that, and just that whole dynamic I really liked with the human boy, and then just how she can be so like normal per se, but then when she needs to feed, she's just a savage beast.
Yeah.
And like the kills were great.
The pool scene was amazing.
Yeah, the pool scene's great. The whole movie, like, I haven't watched it in a while. I saw it maybe like 3 times. But I really liked that film because it was different. It wasn't the same, formula. It's a rich guy or a guy or, someone living in a tomb somewhere. It was like, oh, it's a kid. And I think that closest thing you probably see this interview with a vampire with Kirsten Dunst's character. How we really fantasize or think that this is what a vampire is, but then it's like, what if you were stuck in the body of a child for the rest of your life and you're never going to go through puberty, you can never experience anything, everyone's going to treat you like a child and like for the next 1,000 years.
Well, the same thing too, that was one of the things I thought was interesting on True Blood, when they had the guy that was kind of older and out of shape, and somebody said, why aren't you better looking like the other vampires? This is what I look like when they made me, so this is what I look like forever now. I'm forever going to be like 50 and out of shape,
Yeah, that was really sad because he can't even like work out.
Yeah, you can't even change how you look.
Yeah, it's
so I'd hate to be turned to a vampire right now and be like, oh, this is it? This is it for the next 400 years.
It's
enjoy.
Like, pause. I mean, I would enjoy that. I think that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
I'll go to the gym for a few weeks maybe, and then maybe you could turn me to the vampire then.
Maybe we'll just put you on like vegan blood. Like vegans. We got to get rid of those people. And then once we like drain all the vegan blood, which is going to be really quick because they barely have any blood probably. Then we can move on to like, then you'll lose weight. And then we can put you back on like, the regular American blood. But then I feel like you'll die faster because then you're just full of cholesterol.
That's probably true.
Like back to Twilight. Aren't they vegetarians, quote unquote?
Oh yeah. Well, no. They don't eat humans. They eat the deers and stuff.
That's how he explained
and
it.
the glitter.
Yeah, the glitter. They survived on a lot of glitter.
They survived on a lot of glitter and deers.
Bad wigs.
Bad wigs, yes, in the second movie. She was in that fucking Heartbreaker movie, man. Her hair was short. It was a terrible wig. I was like, you know what? Hollywood, how the hell can you CGI some shit, but then you can't even afford to fucking buy a fucking wig? Like, go to Beyonce's house and pick a wig out of that bitch's house. Like, she has like a million of them. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah,
you just need a lace front wig.
$20 million on a movie, and you can't spend like $200 to get a good wig.
It was like they went to the local Oregon wig shop, and they were like, you know what, this is fine, it's brown, just throw it on her, no one's gonna notice. And everyone noticed.
Yeah.
Including her.
I think every wig was bad at that point.
Terrible.
All right,
But
well,
really, Twilight's also on my list. I love the whole. I had a friend who loved the series, read all the fucking books. I tried really hard because I was a bookseller at the time to read the first book, so it could be a better seller of the book. Not that it needed me to propel the sales on the book, but I wanted to know what it was all about. Why do I have like men, women, old ass fucking women, like people from all races, creeds, ages coming for this damn novel? So I tried terrible, but she read everything. Then she's like, you know what, you want to come to like the last movie's coming out, but we're going to do a marathon and we're going to see every single movie.
Who was this?
Keisha. And I sat through every single movie.
wow.
It was like 12 a.m. to like 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. or 12 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Theater?
In the theater. I was there for 12 hours.
Wow.
Guys, 12 hours. It was
fun?
Twilight.
That's an intense amount of Twilight, especially in the theater.
It was. And I wish, why can't they have done it? You know what? I think they actually did do that with the Harry Potter movies, but
Yeah,
I
they
missed
did.
out. I had to work.
They've done that with almost all of them. They're doing that even with the new Avengers. They're going to lead up all the movies.
I feel like you're going to be in the movie theater for like 4 days.
Yeah, it's going to be like 2 days of the movies with the Avengers thing.
It's like, you know what? Put the Depends on and just have at
Yeah,
it.
but the theaters have better seats now.
That's true. You could just live in that seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones that recline and everything. Those are pretty awesome.
So what is I'm curious now to know what your second film.
Again, mine's kind of a different one, as I was always a big fan of Near Dark.
Oh, Near Dark, yeah.
Because, the vampires in it are really different than anything you've seen before. They're more kind of like a biker gang. Plus, I love Aliens, and then everyone from Aliens is in that movie, pretty much.
It's like they died in Aliens, and then they became vampires.
So they all came
I
back.
think there's an alien actually in that movie too.
Like hiding in the background somewhere. And of course, Adrian Pasdar is in it, and I love that guy. He always is like, it's one of his rare movies where it's like, oh, he's not the psychopath. But, yeah, it's just because it was different. I mean, you got Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton.
Oh, R.I.P. Bill.
Yeah, Jeanette Goldstein, and
That annoying kid.
yeah, the annoying kid. That was the worst part of the only part of the movie that was like, can't you just throw that kid out in the sunlight?
Why do I always think that kid is a kid from Teen Witch? But he's not.
I think he is.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I think he is.
He is a kid from Teen Witch. Top that.
But yeah, it's just because it was, again, like I said, it was so different, and I love the stories of like Lance Henriksen supposedly went out and picked up random hitchhikers in character to try and scare him and see if he could pull off like just scaring random people as his character, and then later thought, I probably shouldn't have done that. One of these random hitchhikers I picked up might have actually been a real killer.
Yeah, he seems like an odd bird.
Yeah, he's kind of a strange guy. So I don't. If Lance Henriksen picked me up, I wouldn't give him any problems. Even now, I don't care how old he is. He's still creepy and scary.
Why, when I think about that movie, I think about Nightbreed. And why didn't Nightbreed have a fucking vampire in it? You failed Clive Barker. Why didn't you have one?
He's
Maybe
not really
he
done
did.
a full-on vampire. I mean, the people in Nightbreed are kind of like vampires. They can't stand sunlight. They pass on the curse by biting people.
Maybe they are like his form of vampires.
His version of a vampire.
Yeah.
Like I Am Legend. Or The Passage.
Yes, The Passage is a new series that'll be coming out pretty soon, and we have randomly we have an expert here on it.
I can't take that thing seriously because it has Zach from Saved by the Bell. So every time I look at him, I'm like, why not wake up in the morning and I kill a little vampire? Like I would throw a whole song, but like mix vampires in there.
He's not Zach anymore. The blonde hair's gone. He's Mark Paul.
The blonde hair was there. It's kind of like a blondish brown. In the picture I saw. In the picture I saw, it was like blondish brown.
I'm interested to see the take. I think it probably would have done better like on a Netflix or a Hulu, but I'm interested to see the take because the book was really fun. It was a really fresh idea.
Give us a synopsis for those that do not read, nor do they know what a book is. BOOK.
So one thing to know, which I'm interested to see how the series will do this, is the book is really set in two different times. Present day, when basically vampirism has been made into a virus of sorts. There's a lot to go into how they found it, but they made it into some sort of virus where they did tests on death row inmates, very specific death row inmates, and that's part of Mark Paul Gosselaar's character's job is to convince these death row inmates that try this basically test drug that the government is doing and you can get out of your death sentence. And obviously it goes awry. And then the second half of the book is set about 100 years in the future. People, really the only people that have survived live on these compounds that the government made that are secured with, I guess, ultraviolet lights at night. But the problem coming into now is obviously the government didn't make it. At least I don't know if they made it or not because I only read the first of the 3 books. And everything is starting to die. The batteries are running out. The clothes, they've been recycling these clothes, and, anytime somebody dies, all their stuff goes to be recycled and given to somebody else, and it's all about trying to find ways to fix, the turbines and the computers because they're all starting to degrade and there's no government left to fix it. So I'm interested to see. The second half to me was definitely more interesting.
I wonder if though, since you didn't really read the other 2, so you don't really know, but I wonder if they'll have to have all of season 1 just be the first half of the book and not have
what I'm thinking.
Any flashbacks, because I'm watching another novel that's been turned into a TV show called The Discovery of Witches, which is so good. And I haven't finished that novel, but I'm close to being finished. But so far, they've taken elements from the middle ending of the book and probably some other things that haven't happened yet, but they're putting them in the present to make sense of all the undergoings, because you don't really know what's really going on in the first book. There's like so many things. It's a long story, but nevertheless, the TV show I think is just really focusing on giving you a lot of the backstory and then the main story, but it's not, season 1 is all going to be just, I think it's pieces of the rest of the other books that have happened, kind of just to give you, like, speed it up and give you, because it is very drawn out. It's an excellent book, but there's just so much, and it's about not to talk about, obviously, non-vampire thing, but there are vampires in this book, so historian finds, calls, she's doing research on, she's a alchemist, researcher, and she goes and calls a book at the library, like, just, I want to look at this book because she's in Oxford, and all the books are, like, antique ones. So she asks the librarian to go and, like, see if they can get this book, and she calls the book, and the librarian sees there's no book there, and then she goes to get the other books. When she comes back, she passes the section where the book is again, and the book appeared. The book is there now. So she's like, okay. So she gives the book to the girl, and the girl opens the book, and there's like a connection between her and the book. And she is a witch that has not come to terms that she doesn't want to really acknowledge her witch part. And she's kind of hidden that away. Her parents were murdered, and they were witches, and her aunts are witches, but she wants to just be like a normal human being. And she's a doctor. And she has this connection with the book, so she gets freaked out and returns the book back. And once that book is open, it literally calls to all the creatures that are in the surrounding area, and they all feel a certain kind of way, like, oh shit, something just like, I feel it in my blood, there's something weird going on. And they all zone in on her, and no one has seen this book for over 1,000 years. So the person that approaches her is a vampire, and he has also been looking for the book since 1856.
Let me guess, it's her love interest.
And
there you go.
It's really good. It's an excellent novel, but I can see probably in the passage that they might not focus on the future too much, and that might be more like a season 2 kind of thing. Or they might just fucking shock us all, because in the trailer, from what you've described, that just seems to be like the present and not the future part.
Because if that's the case, I mean, would be a completely different show. It's gonna be it's a completely different story.
That'd be interesting to see, though. Because you completely change characters and everything into the future, so it'd be kind of interesting to see. I hope they do it that way.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't watched the series of it, but the books that Guillermo del Toro and I think his name is something Hogan wrote called The Strain.
I want to say his name is Paul Hogan.
Yeah. It was kind of a similar thing where there's a vampire that comes to New York, and he starts spreading vampirism, kind of like a disease. And the first 2 books take place kind of now, and then the third book is several years after the vampires have taken over. They've done something that caused a lot of the nuclear reactors to overload, blow up, and put like radioactive waste and stuff into the air that blots out the sun most of the day. So there's only like 2 or 3 hours of daylight every day, and the rest of the time the vampires are free to do whatever. And it's the same kind of thing. They're rounding up humans, putting them into camps, and it's kind of about the resistance. It's not hundreds of years later or anything like that. It's just maybe 5 years later. But it was still interesting to see. And I think the series just finished last year. Like, they finished up all 4 seasons of it. So I've been kind of wanting to start it and see what it's like.
Wasn't that based on a Michael Crichton?
No.
That's the one. This one I just said was Guillermo del Toro that did it.
Oh.
There's another.
What am I thinking of?
I'm not sure.
The Stand, maybe?
That was Stephen King.
Stephen King. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
You might be thinking of The Stand, because the nuclear reactor thing that happens in The Stand.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in The Stand. There's kind of similarities in it, but it was a pretty good book series. So now that the show's done, I'm kind of interested to watch it and see how it goes.
Yeah, I always like the cover art of those books.
Yeah, they were kind of gothic and.
They're creepy looking.
Any other vampire favorites?
I mean, you can go on forever on some of these.
Okay.
Let's think.
Well, okay, here's a question. What's your least favorite vampire movie that you've seen that you were just like, oh no?
I mean,
besides
although
Twilight.
I would gotta go with Twilight at some point.
We can't pick Twilight. We already discussed it, and we said it was my favorite all time. So I feel like
there is another interesting movie by Xantium, which again I think
that one I haven't seen.
It's a long movie. It's interesting.
Well, wait, you like that movie? Though.
I did really like that movie.
You don't hate it, so you can choose that one.
I still want to give a...
Oh, you want to give your 2 cents about it? Okay, 2 cents.
Yes, no, just give a honorable mention. Because I think it was a good, fresh take. How it was basically a boys' club to become a vampire. And this woman just kind of said, no, I'm going to be a vampire too. And then made her daughter a vampire. And they've been together for quite a long time. And it goes awry.
That's interesting. I haven't seen that one.
I'm looking through the list of vampire movies, and let me tell you guys. I mean, there's so many movies in here. Dusk Till Dawn, like
that. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Blade.
I've always wanted to show that to someone that had no idea that there was going to be vampires in it.
Yes.
That didn't know, that just showed to somebody that thought it was another Tarantino crime movie, and then let them just be completely shocked.
I'm a huge Queen of the Damned fan. I don't care. Oh, Aaliyah's birthday was this week, and I did plan to watch that movie this week in honor of her.
She did great in that. I
love the music in that movie.
I wasn't a fan of Lestat only because I really did like Tom Cruise's take.
Yeah, but that's
I
1800s
know,
Lestat.
100% agreed.
I'm sorry. I have a hard on for Stuart Townsend, so I was just like, oh my god, he's so hot, and he's like rocker Lestat. Like, I love it.
I'll take Tom Cruise's Lestat.
He's a little bitch.
No, that's
Hate
Louis.
him.
Louis
was
a
kind of a
bitch.
whiner.
No, Louis is
Lestat
hot.
just enjoyed.
He has
just
a
enjoyed
soul.
being a vampire.
He just enjoyed being a vampire, man. And you wouldn't think Tom Cruise could probably pull off that character that well.
But he did.
Yeah.
My theory on Tom Cruise is if
he's a vampire. Boom.
Well, that's part of it too, but I think anytime he's going to play a weird, freaky character, he's fine. It's just when he plays normal characters, it's less believable.
Yeah.
The crazier Tom Cruise is on things like that.
When he gets older, because Risky Business is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Just because it's fucking on a train.
I do like him as War of the Worlds. I love that.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Okay, well, we digress. My least favorite vampire movie would be, I just had on the tip, the remake of Fright Night. Fucking terrible.
The Lost Boys sequels.
Oh yeah, those are some not very good movies there.
No, this is a terrible movie. When I hear people talk about what's your favorite, what a vampire movie, what's your favorite horror movie, and they tell me Halloween, yeah, the Jamie,
H2O.
Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome, whatever, and they're like, no, I think it's the one that came out in 2009, I think zombie something. Oh hell no! Or when someone's like Fright Night, I'm like, which Fright Night? If I hate that I have to ask which, because in my mind, in my heart and soul, there's only one.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there is not one. Why can't they just name it something else? Because it's also annoying when you look something up in Google, and Google's always going to show you the most recent thing.
And then they did that terrible straight-to-video sequel to the Fright Night remake.
Chad is the only person in the world that saw this movie, by the way.
And
I didn't see it.
It's essentially a remake of the first movie.
I feel like this is your favorite movie.
But just they're in Europe and it's a female vampire.
Wow. They literally pulled a Fright Night 2.
Yeah.
Because she's British, isn't she? In the fucking Fright Night 2 movie.
Yeah, but
and
they just kind of were like, oh, they just kind of, it was like they talked about it, but the character of Evil Ed that died in the first movie, he was back in the second one as a human, like nothing ever happened to him. It was very weird. It made no sense. It was one of those things that I'm sure it was another movie, and then they were just like, we could call it Fright Night 2.
Edited it some way.
We could call it Fright Night 2 and maybe make a couple of extra rentals at the Red Box on it.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Like that one movie that we saw on the Bob's Drive-In. Remember The Demon?
Yeah.
All these different directors just kept naming their movies The Demon in Italian.
Yeah. They kept just calling it over and over again to cash in on that. They did that with Dawn of the Dead, too. They made sequels to it that had nothing in Italy and other countries that had nothing to do with it. They would just call them something similar along the lines of that. And just, this is definitely a sequel to that, but not really.
If you had to, for hopes of 2019, 2020, or in the future, what would be a vampire movie that you would like to see?
I'd like to see someone do I was interested when, I can't think of his name, but he directed The Witch.
Oh, yeah.
Was going to...
Eggers.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, right?
Yeah, he was going to do the historical Nosferatu. That would have been really cool to see, a historical vampire. Kind of
doing it anymore?
I don't know if he is or not, but it's been a while since they've said anything about it, but I'd be really interested to see that. There was another one that they had talked about that was it was like something not exactly this, but like Voyage of the Damned or something. That it was the story of the Demeter, the ship that brings Dracula to London. It was their story because the ship just shows up and everybody's dead. They were going to do a movie about what happened on the ship.
That's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, but like one that you would make, not one that like you're hoping to watch.
Oh, one that I would make?
Yeah. Do you have? You have no idea. You have no desires. How do you have one?
I think I'd travel back in time to 1989 and make Joel Schumacher's vision for the Lost Boys sequel, which would be Lost Girls.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
But I don't think if they tried it now, it would just it'd just be something like Gossip Girl with vampires.
I don't know. That might be good.
All right, I'm watching it already. I'm like, Penn Badgley's doing amazing things in that You series, so bring him on down. He's hot again.
Oof.
Get your curly ass over here and fucking be like a victim on this Lost Girls Gossip Girl edition. Oh yeah, Pretty Little Liars edition.
Yeah, something like Pretty Little Liars with vampires. Like it wouldn't be right unless it was done in that time. But
I would like to see a movie where it was set. I don't know where the setting would be because I'm kind of torn if it would be like 1800s or more modern day. But no one's ever done a movie about Dracula's bitches. Like, but I'm sure there's been like, and I hate to say Dracula's bitches, but I'm sure there's been like a porno or one of those terrible like Hammer films. But from their point of view, how they're captured, they're lured by Dracula,
yeah,
and how he turns them, and how like their life changes in that moment, and then how now they are vampires and now they have to seek other victims, and how they go about it. Maybe they all decide that they're not going to just go after men. Maybe they decide to like gang up on Dracula, take him out, and now they're like the head, their own rulers, and they're going after like women, which we're going to do. Not that we want to do like an empowerment thing, because I'm not into that. But we never really get to see the story of like how these girls. I think the closest thing, if I had to pull it out of my ass, would be like Monster Squad. You see, they're like schoolgirls.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the closest thing you get to see. So you don't really. I mean, I wish there was some film out there that would show us like how he gets them and then turns them into vampires and how they deal with that.
Well, now, for one that I would like to see, that if I could make one, I think it'd be cool to do a Western vampire. Set it in the Old West with...
I would watch that.
And, have some of the guys... Because you imagine the scenes where they're coming down at the vampires, coming down after the, Western hero guy, and he's just emptying guns into him and nothing happens. That would be cool. And then, put a little bit of the Lone Ranger aspect on it, where he eventually figures out, hey, you got to put silver in the bullets in order for it to be effective.
Yeah. But he doesn't find out he's a vampire because it's all those stupid fight outs always happen like at like dusk or whatever, and it's like he's shooting him, he doesn't turn, and the sun fucking sets, and the motherfucker turns into a vampire. Like, oh shit, that would be pretty badass.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Actually, there was another honorable mention.
Okay.
Priest.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic vampire.
Never seen the movie. It's good.
It's pretty good.
I liked it. It was a cool take on it. Post-apocalyptic.
It's kind of like if it was Blade Runner, but there were vampires.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
I love Underworld.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of Underworld mixed with Blade Runner.
Fuck it. The new movie is called Blade World. I'm watching it. Everyone's dressed like Blade. Yeah. You don't even know who Blade is. It's like...
And like these priests were, these great vampire hunters and all this. And then once the threat was gone, they were kind of cast out in society. And then they've come to need them again. Paul Bettany, I think.
Yeah.
So, definitely on the watch list. It was a fresh take on it.
All right, well, we hope we've maybe enlightened you on a couple of vampire movies, and tell us what your favorite vampire movies are, and tell us what you would like to see in a modern vampire movie. If you're gonna come up with a vampire movie on your own, what would it be? And special thanks to Scary Carrie for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, guys.
And we will see you again next week.
Good evening.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.